Kusile maswahla mahle sama uthina namhla ekuseni nikhethe ukuvuka nathi. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Welcome to Kusile Breakfast Show. Seyishayile insimbi yesithupha namhla ekuseni lokusho kona kuqala kwelihlelo lethu. For only 4 days away from the King's 56th birthday.
Wow.
At August on the 19th of April, which
4
is
days.
Friday. 4 days only.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Good morning, by
Good
the way.
morning, Guni. How are you?
I'm just, shocked at how fast time is an illusion. If you think about it. Yeah,
yeah.
no, time is really an illusion. I was actually talking to a friend, Idolo, would say, do you know what? 2019 was how many years ago? It's so crazy, like 5 years ago already.
Yeah.
And it feels like yesterday something defining happened in our lives in 2019. Me and a lot of my friends, particularly from tertiary. So yeah, something happened in 2019. So to learn what it's been 5 years is actually crazy. And we want to thank the Lord Almighty. Losigcinile nje inkosi yasemazulwini. Kude kube ngilamuhla. Sisenje kulelo nyawo lelo sakhuluma ngenkosi. Inkosi yethu ke lapha ngwane malanga nje lamane kuphela iyatalwa. Umsebenzi ke umsebenzi lothemsa ukuthi utaba mhle kakhulu. We've seen vikini liphelile. Sibonile indvuna ka Home Affairs yakuyabuka iprogress sabuka a few days later again the Prime Minister with a couple of cabinet ministers went there to assess the readiness of yona inkundla semangane lapho khona ke kutaba nalomsebenzi khona. It's quite exciting, I think.
Yeah, it's exciting. So I think nasethi indzabeni nje solo siyabona the whole week. Mitolo nje bakhulumise kuleli viki bakhulumise RA Chief Gija naye washo ukuthi balungele basifunza sakamanzini balungele kwemukela eMaswati latawuta kulomcimbi lomkhulu, and of course babakhulumisile nabo Chief Itolo nabo baveta infokodo yabo ukuthi sebajakela ilanga lelikhulu sifise ukuthi sive samaswati sikhone side khona emankaya nesito ubonda nenkosi eMswati wesithe. Sithemba ukuthi ne weather nayo ngoni itaba ngine favorable kude sive sitawuthokota kahle lingane but nje ilanga libalele liphume.
Yeah, kanti ke Maswati sekakhombisile nje ukuthi lokhu nenkosi lenhle khona. Simo selitolo akusabi inkinga kakhulu. Impela sengiyinakile nje ukuthi eMaswati inkosi yawo ayayithanza njengoba ke nenkosi yawo eMaswati iyawathanza eMaswati. Siyibonile nanayo la khona abantu bacabanga ukuthi ingcenye inkosi ngeke ivele bakhulume lokwa nalokwa. Simo selitolo sinjena sinjanjana sibuye kunayo ingwenya makhapha. Silo semhlaba besikhona nakhona eMaswati bekajabulile nanayo eMaswati bekaphumenge ebuningi bawo. Lokho info lesikhuthatha ukuthi ngalolusuku ke ngalesihlanu kutawuvele kube njalo, kodwa nje ake sikhulume ngelihlelo lethu lwalomuhla nalo lolitaba mnanzi kakhulu. Temidlalo sitibonile kule mphela sonto. Hey, labanengi balimele inhlitiyo kodwa ke indzaba lesitayicocisa kabanti nakufika Fabrice Msonera. We do want to talk about the English Premier League. The Mascos leswabonile, Liverpool lost to Crystal Palace, Arsenal lost to Aston Villa, Fulham beat West Ham United. What does this say about Manchester City? Are they going to have the same luck that they had in the previous season? They are competing, or they are competitors. Abane slump towards the end of the season, and therefore allowing them an opportunity to take over. We don't know. These games were very, very important games, but do they really define what the essential outcome is going to be? We don't know. We're going to see, but we will have, the pundit's point of view. Fabrice Msonera will come to the show. What do these losses really mean for Arsenal as well as Liverpool, and where does this position Manchester City? But we also do want to talk about Emma game Alapa Eka. Young Buffaloes lost to Green Mamba. My prediction was spot on and Fabrice was wrong. I hope he's going to admit in front of you, Lomuhla Exen. But when the Solos were able to be victorious against Rangers, Nsingizini, Shiselo, Nsingizini Hotspurs managed to beat Wanderers, and I'm happy. I've always said I'm a Nsingizini fan, purely based off of where I come from in Waseshi. So I'm a big fan of Nsingizini Hotspurs. We'll discuss all these games and what they mean. Nama results. Let's swap on Legle Mpela Sonto with Fabrice later on the show, 7:30.
Kanti ke ngahalf 6 idabe sinayo umcondzisi wenkampani yahulumende i-macro projects akumele ukuthi lena inkampani yahulumende lezama kuthuthukisa ikakhulukazi indzawo lezisemaphandleni. It is intended to increase government funding by reaching out to disadvantaged vulnerable communities in addressing their socio-economical needs. I-macro projects ke ma-interventions awo maningi kakhulu siwabonile kusukela nje solo iyaqala inhloso yawo ukuthi inciphise buphuya khona khona emakhaya sibonile intuthuko lede na micro projects emakhaya kanye ne-improved access to social infrastructure through an increased number of completed projects lapha even sitabe sinaye Sibusiso Mbinga ukuva nje ukuthi eminyakeni lophelile wahulumende 2023-2024 mangakhe ama projects laba wendile mangakhe ama projects singawagatha kulomnyaka lesetulu nekusekusitaka lesivele singanani khona emakhaya ngalokuthi vele kwakhiwa tikolwa kwakhiwa imigwaco kweningi lokwakhiwako ngabo umsebenzi wama micro projects tabe sinaye nje ukuthi yasiniketele isithombe leso ukuthi basebenze kanjani eminyakeni lophilile tabe sinaye nga6 kanti kumanje sibona date hamba embili kumaphephandzaba. Asicela sibeke i-Times of Eswatini kuleti hamba embili lomuhla. Leading headlines, King off to SA to meet Ramaphosa, His Majesty King Mswati III, Upumeke esikhumulweni setindiza King Mswati III, Itolo Emini. In other news, 2 bank workers, ex-Stanlib agent in 2.3 million Amalangeni churches fraud, implicated in scheme allegedly stealing money from churches' accounts, money allegedly transferred to 10 bank accounts, signatories removed. How money was spent, furniture house, Range Rover seized through poker. You can read more on page 2. Bulletin Tamba Mbili office selling forged bank statements exposed. Gansi parents have been asked to donate 20 liters maize each to school.
Look, Times of Eswatini, the leading story, Eswatini tournament is among Africa's finest. In Ngonyama Cup, let's say a lot of SADC knockouts. Celebrated tournament's first prize money is higher than that of similar competitions. Lakhona eZambia, lakhona eBotswana, na lakhona eNamibia. So the prize money yakhona ihamba embili kanti nje ilandzela South Africa ke iNedbank Cup lehamba embili nga7 million emalangeni kulandzele eSwatini iNgonyama Cup sakalandzela ke onke lamanye emave lakhona eSADC ngemuva kwelive laKangwane. Kulenye indzaba, Birds Mgonodi dies, Mbabane tragedy. This best describes the untimely death of Mbabane Swallows ladies player Banele Bembe, affectionately known as Mgonodi. Kulenye indzaba, EFCA freezes coach Ikabot. Mbabane seasoned gaffer Ikabot Masocha is not eligible to execute his coaching duties at his new team. The Zimbabwe-born coach recently joined Eswatini United's technical bench after his stint with relegation-threatened Hub Giants Imanzini Wanderers. From the international front, a very sad one for a lot of football fans. Liverpool, Arsenal lose and they hand Manchester City the lead.
Alright, Nasbuke Eswatini Observer, leading headlines, King jets off to South Africa. Kuletinye Tambe Mbili Liswati killed in Tlazache car crash. Female paramedic killed in accident identified and another hospitalized. Kuletinye Tambe Mbili 22 stolen cows recovered from South Africa.
Dr. Eswatini Observer Sports this Monday morning. The big story there, Coach Mtunzi scream, "We was robbed." He says Swallows' goal did not cross the line. Caleb says they are now the team to beat. And Birds at the top of the log. Sikali is running away with the top goal scorer award yet again. Remember, top striker Sabelo Sikali Nzinisa with only 5 matches remaining before the MTN Premier League curtains fall. Remember's top striker Sabelo Sikali is inching closer to winning the Golden Boot award. On another one, tightly race wide open according to the PLE CEO. Dog eat dog affair. That's the story.
That's why Eswatini Daily News, Lomhlakung Monday, leading headlines, Minister Sikumbuzo's over 8 million Malayan expenditure on RDF projects in 3 months. Kulenyele Hambaimbili government to strengthen social safety nets, and the Deputy Prime Minister lends helping hand to sisters.
Eswatini Daily News Sport, the leading story, CAF ticket race. Birds at an advantage, with Buffaloes facing a 2-year suspension from all CAF interclub competitions. Swallows have the advantage of if, or rather, Green Mamba defends the league title as they also play the Ngwenyama Cup final. Breakaway Referees Association is on the cards, and on the international front, Arsenal-Liverpool both lose at home.
All right, 10 minutes after 6 ngilitole thamba imbili kumaphephandaba sibahlelo temakhethena sibuya sithatha tindzaba teswati.
Mizuzu elishumi nakubili kubumbene insimbi yesithupha yamukelana tindzaba teswati fundzelwa ngoshumi nakubili. Silo semhlaba sesisuke kuleli salibhekisa eveni laseNingizimu Afrika. Sive-ke siphume ngetinkhani safisela silo luhambo loluhle esikhumulweni setindiza eKing Mswati the 3rd International Airport. Silo sisingethwe inkosikazi Makela Nkhambule kulolu hambo.
Sive sephethe impelasonto ngalokukhethekile ngesikhathi siphuma siphelela esikhumulweni setindiza eKing Mswati the 3rd International Airport kutawufisela silo somhlaba luhambo loluhle. Silo sisuke kuleli salibhekisa eveni labomakhelwane eNingizimu Afrika sisingethwe inkosikazi Makela Nkhambule. Silo sivaleliswe omake makhosikati nebantu benkhosi savaleliswa nangidvunankhulu umhlonishwa Russell Dlamini tindvuna tembuso kanye-ke nemabandla ngekwahlukana kwawo. Lobika kwetindzabeni ngisandile Makhanya esikhumulweni setindiza eKing Mswati the 3rd International Airport.
Sikhulumdla kaGamedze lebekahola libandla lelithunywe inkosi kuyawuva ukuthi awusachubeki ngani umsebenzi wentuthuko emphakathini wasemandabaneni ngaphansi kwenkundla yaselibulini. Sewuceleke ukuthi kume kuphakamiselwana bogebhu kulokungevani-ke lokukhona kulomphakathi kendzaba yentuthuko lelethwa ngu-eWade. Gamedze ukuvete lokhu ngesikhathi lelibandla lihlangene nesive.
Inkampani yahulumende lethuthukisa abalimi i-eWade yafika ngeminyaka wa 2010 kutawuletha intuthuko emphakathini wasemabandaneni ngaphansi kwenkundla yaselibulini. Kude-ke kube ngimanje lo msebenzi solo uyasisimba. Lokhu sekwende ukuthi lo muthe welive athumele libandla leliholwa sikhulu umdla kaGamedze kuthi-ke liyawuva ukuthi kwende njani.
Libandla kangisho ukuthi nangabe nempendulo injalo aliphatheki kahle kokuthi umsebenzi bese ungema kanti bakangwani bese bawubusa sithi bantwana hambani niyosebenza lapha njoba nisebentile engcenye nakuphi nyalo hambani kuthuthuke isive seNgwenyama kasati ke bomgometile ukuthi sitayikhomba kuphi ngoba phela bakhona abaholi bemango la labaholi bemango lebala bangilesandla seNgwenyama lekufanele iNgwenyama nathi kubhekwa le nibo lekufanele babonge ukuthi lokusho iNgwenyama kuyendeka nakungahambi kahle babuyele babike awusilo sikhulu akuhambi kahle kanje kuboniswana ukuthi kungaphuma lekhambi lingatholakala ziphi bandla kangadi ngoba lapha vele besitohlola lo msebenzi uyaqhubeka yini.
Umthuthukisi ka-eWade noNhlanhla Mazibuko uyachaza ukuthi yini leseyibambe lo msebenzi.
Baseke bathuthukisi basesekhathi kusetshenzwa bakamngometulu bafika batobasabisa kwabakabi umphathi ke waka eWade wathi ngcono abantu baphume kusabela imphefumulo yabo kwabikwa sakwathi sisabikile bafika balimi ehovisi batocela kwenta tinguquko macondzana nemaplazi sibafuna bona emaplazi eme kanjani emalunga langena emaplazi nahlele mbiseke kanjani sabaniketa wena kunene thuba lekwenda njalo kuthi awu hambani bekunene nendekelele nicabanga ukuthi kutawusebenta.
Evakala-ke ukuthi kunetinkampani letisiphohlongo letimelele sive lesifikako emakhulwini layimfica nato letinkampani tibekile ukuthi yini lena leyenta eWade afune kubambana ngabhongwane nalesive.
Ayifike khona sekuyinkinga nakhona ngilesekuthenini naku manje iSwati nenduna lebandla lenduna selichama netinkampani letimbili letichamuka latingekho project era letikashane kakhulu sekuthiwa manje atolima lela hlelo asikatshelwa sive kwana lenduna ude kubuya esiveni totshela sive
Akusilo liqiniso ukuthi umthuthukisi walanza abantu labangatiwa bakamngometulu babodvana abavumelani ngeke ukuthi lalabantu labakhuluma ngabo takhamuti bayatiwa bahle abanemapasi bala Victoria balana wengcakaba beThambogina kuthiwa ngikuphi ngalabo bongwavuma abafunwa ke ngibo abasibo labafike nazi takhamuti tala bayatiwa
asenime kukhokhelana tintshembeza aseninike libandla ukuthi sengayibamba siphi siyaqela ukuthi isenibambe phansi bogebhu sitawubona siyibamba siphi siyakholwa siyathemba ukuthi itawulunga.
Libandla-ke lisite nalo lisayoyibika lenzaba kulabadzala labataleluleka bese liyabuya-ke nesijubo. Umbiko ohlanganiswe ngilengithini Gule nginabheke Mazibuko sisemantabaneni ngaphansi kwenkundla yaselibulini.
Imfundo yelitiko letinkhundla nekuthuthukiswa kwato sikhumbuzo Dlamini ethi kusemahlombe alelitiko kubuyisela leli-investment salo njengoba ke kulive lelatiwa ngenhlonipho lokhu kuvete emcimbini wekwetfulwa kuphindze kubongwe kuhamba kahle kwelikhethwa emphakathi waseNfundini ngaphansi kwenkhundla yaseMadlanga Empisi.
Lo mcimbi beungenelwe yindvuna yelitiko letisebenti nenhlalakahle yato Phila Buthelezi, indvuna yelitiko letemfundvo owenqumalo emalunga ephalamende enesive semphakatsi waseThundini. Ikhuluma kulo mcimbi indvuna yelitiko letinkhundla sikhumbuzo Dlamini itsite iyajabula ngemphakatsi waseThundini ngekuba sibonelo lesihle ngekuhleleka kwawo nenhlonipho.
Infokodo nalokuthi nathi sithola lithuba lokuthi sitawubona nabantu abenguni lapho khona banikwa umsebenzi ngalokusemthethweni banikwa ngewenkosi yebenguni mnguni nangifika la khaya uvuka lusinga lo lusinga loluvukako nalo ukuthi lokunye lokungumthwalo wami njengenduna yembuso letiwe inkundla lokuthi kufuneka sibuyisele live labe likhona khona esimeni salo kwekucala ngekwenhlonipho lakhaya na ubona abantu baphume kangaka kude nikamva khutha umsindo lakhaya sengihambile ndvuna sengifikile emiphakathini leminingi kuze kuphele umsebenzi solokuthiwa kuthulwe ngalapo kunjani.
Kulusa sethundini lesiphindze sibe indvuna yelitiko lemisebenti lemikhulu nekuthutsa shifundla Luhlaza Ndwandwe sisite siyajabula ngeteluleko nekuhlonyiswa labakutfole kulo mcimbi.
La likhomba embili njengananko namuhla. Kubaluleka kwawo sinaletigaba lesitishoko leti sivakashelela khaya lekufanele bengibone ngaso sonke isikhathi sitivule tandla ngoba nasihleti sodwa nelukhwekhwe lethu sitalotayela kanti nakutawuba nebekuhamba batawuhle bathi awu bengoni kunjani ngala nawuthi nithi niyabuka yena bakithi kanti vele sihlete etibini sesiyekhweta siyahlobisa batasikhombisa lokukabi longabe kuyasonakalela baphindze futhi basidumise basiqinise kulokuhle lesikwendako sibengoni.
Ilunga lePhalamende lenkundla yaseMadlangambisi Allen Vilane litsite sebatawusebenta melula njengoba sebetfuliwe siveni.
Siyabonga ukuthi konke kuhambe kahle lithuba lelifana naleli shangasibonke bangalitfola labanye silula kona kepha nje inkosi kwende kwabalula kakhulu ngaba kubonga nje ukuthi isendele umthwalo wemelula vele sisebenza likeke lokhu besengathulwa kulesive nyalo sibasadi sesitawuvele sicale sisebenze lokusebenza sekutaba melula nyalo.
Kulo mcimbi bekumenywe tonke tikhwama letisenkundleni tekutfutfukisa sive kanye netinhlangano letibukete tenhlalakahle yesive kule nkhundla. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV ngimbongo Simagagule ethundini.
Uhulumende utibekele ukuthi ngeminyaka wa-2028 kube sekude eLeswati lingafinyeleli emantini lahlobile. Lokhu kuvakele ngendvuna yetekuhlela umnotfo Dr. Tambo Gina ngesikhathi indvuna yetfula sigaba sesibili semsebenzi wokuletha imani lahlobile. Umsebenzi-ke lowendeke emphakathini waseMandabaneni ngaphansi kwenkhundla yaselibulini.
Ngeminyaka wa-2018 sive sasentuthokazi ngaphansi kwenkhundla yaselibulini sahlangana safaka sicelo sekulekelelwa ngemanti lahlobile ku-micro projects. Nembala sacela-ke isigaba sekucala salomsebenzi lowabita imali lefika kwetigidzi letisihlanu temalangeni. Indvuna yetekuhlela umnotfo nentuthuko Dr. Tambo Gina lephinzeke ibe lilunga lePhalamende lenkundla yaselibulini seyetfuleke isigaba sesibili salomsebenzi.
Sithunywe lomude kuthuthukisa live kulenye tinto lesemgomeni yelive kuthi angakefiki 2028 noma 2030 thina ke sibeke 2028 kube kude likhaya lapho khona kude gesi khona. Yabonga kakhulu bonkosi sive samaloyo ukuthi anidzingi kumenywa kwenta loku right. Kwesibili sifuna kufika ku 100% ngekuthi kube nemandi emakhaya. Leti mali sitholile kuhambe embili ukuthi bomake bangasitakala njani. Angiqali kusho lokho betikhona nga 2018 tiyakhula nanyelo tikhona nakukhona bomake nemisebenzi sonzelani. Kuthi naku lesingakwenda sicela nisithushise nisitshengise ukuthi yini lesingayenda kuthwala imali kusentshento. Akusiyo injongo yalomude ukuthi sive senkosi silambe sihlupheke. Esibayeni labo bakhona noma balalele ebusakatweni. Busweti emathuba emsebenzi buhlungu lobukhulu kakhulu. Niyafundzisa siyafundzisa sibatali. Bantwana sihlale nabo. Bangasebenzi bahlupheke emakhaya. Nabo maloma nakuphi labangabamba khona kuncane akukunengi kangako. Kude into lelukhuni njengokutholela umuntu umsebenzi. Kude buhlungu lokuje ubaleke lapha ekhaya ngibalekele ukuthi utaqhamuka abantwana labede emsebenzi. Bacela ukuthi ngibaside.
Sihlalo welikomiti lelibukeke kulethwa kwemanti lahlobile entuthokazi Simangele Mamba uncusa-ke sive ukuthi sifake emandla laphinziwe kude lo msebenzi utawuba impumelelo.
Indzawo yasentuthwakade ide lamanti nhlobo nasiya emantini sihamba indzawo lengangabo 7 kilometers siyofuna emanti. so ngiko-ke size sathi sinqonota kucela kufaka sicelo semandi ngoba vele akhashane kakhulu kude naleti indlela nje longazi ukuthi ungacasha noma kuleyo loli noma leyo tanker kude kwalomgwaqo ikakhulukati nyalo nje sijabula kakhulu ukuthi nyalo lamande salamaceleni kwemiti.
Ngeminyaka wetimali wa 2023-2024 uhulumende wakha tikimu temandi letinkhulu letisiphohlongo letaletsa-ke mandi lahlobile esiveni lesingetulu kwetinkulungwane letilishumi natine 14,490 webantfu. Umbiko ohlanganiswe ngu-LinkedIn Gule nginabheki mazibuko siselibulini.
Indvuna yetasekhaya umhlonishwa umva nenkosi Lindiwe ithi litiko alihambisani nekungaphatheki kahle kwemaswati uma ayawufuna lusito kuleli tiko. Lokhu-ke kulandzela ukuthi sive sikhali ngokuthi bantfu labagijimelwako kuleli tiko bantfu bekuhamba.
Ngisho naleli tiko vele akusiyinto lesingathi siyayivuma leyo ukuthi kutawukhethwa abantu akusilo mina nje vele nabangangitshengisa ukuthi nangu lo ngakanake emaswati wagijimela lomunye umuntu amne vele ngambona sibonane naloyo vele ngibona ngithi ngidila ngithini naye angithandi lokuthi emaswati angahlonishwa kepha-ke kucala kukithi singemaswati kufuna wena la kuwe ungumuntu utitshele ukuthi utigcabhe ngebuswati bakho wathi ukuthi uliswati and umhloniphe lenye iswati asisho ukuthi ungabahloniphi bekuhamba kepha-ke emaswati abafunde lokuthi batihloniphe bona etiko vele asikhuthadi lokho ukuthi batawukwenda ukhicikhwici longakhanyi kahle kepha ngaloko ukuthi nasi sisuke esikhashane nawo bala asikhoni ukubona konke kepha nje umuntu mina angathi angibikele ukuthi sekunje ngayithatha i-action especially nakatamkhomba nje ukuthi nangu lona simbonile enda lokho nalokho i-action vele ngayithatha lapho.
Imidlalo licembu lemidlalo wevolleyball icorrectional liphindze-ke lahamba embili kumancame emidlalo yema-series yesine kulandzela kuncoba kumancane lapho lishaye khona licembu le-REPS i-REPS aze kuncoba kwayo i-correctional kule series yesine kusho ukuthi seyincobe onke ema-series omane kubo babe kanye nakubomake.
Eminyakeni lophelile inkampani yakamula Sports Betting iyasekela inhlangano longamela umdlalo wevolleyball kuleli ngemali engetulu kwa-100,000 emalangeni kuthi bamba umcucelwano wamacembu langaphasi kwaleli nhlangano. Le nhlangano yabe seyihlukanisa le mali ngetigaba letintsatfu kumacembu abomake, kumacembu abobabe kanye nakumacembu ladlala esigabeni saka-B Division. Kuto tonke letigaba le nhlangano yaphindze yahlukanisa le mali kuthi lamacembu adlale lichungechunge lemidlalo pheceleti ama-series game lamane. Kuseries yekucala eminyakeni lophelile licembu labomake i-correctional lahamba embili kwathi nakubobaba i-correctional yaphindze yahamba embili. Kuseries yesibili yabuya futhi i-correctional yahamba embili kubobabe kanye nakubomake. Kuseries yesithathu ledlalwa ngenyanga lephelile kwaphindze kwaba ngisona leso njengoba i-correctional yaphindze yahamba embili kubobabe kanye nakubomake. Kulempela somvo besekudlalwa emancane series yesine lebese kuyi-series yekugcina. Kubomake bekutholana licembu le-REPS lelibonakala lenyusa kakhulu ku-series yesine kanye ne-correctional lebelibo champagne kuma-series lamathathu lengcile. I-correctional ngemuva kwamasethi lasihlanu bese iyawuncoba lo mdlalo nga-3-2 lokwente ukuthi licembu labomake liphakamise onke ama-series lamane. Kubobabe nakhona bekutholana i-REPS kanye ne-correctional. Kusethi ekucala kubonakala ngathi yona i-REPS itenelilaka njengoba inqobile yona isethi ekucala lokuletha lithemba kuba lenzeli babo kuthi batawuncoba wona labancamu. Kodwa-ke i-correctional bese iyalungisa njengoba ibuyile yancoba isethi yesibili lokwente ukuthi lamacembu abambane nga-1-1 ngemuva kwamasethi lamabili. Kusethi yesithathu yancoba lokwente ukuthi ngemuva kwamasethi lamathathu ihambe embili yona i-correctional nga-2-1. Isethi yesine lebese kumele kubonakala champagne nakhona iphume ngesemagundvane yona i-correctional yagcina unqobile lokwente ukuthi kubese kuba ngu-3-1. Lokho kusho ukuthi yona i-correctional ihambe embili onke lama-series. Yona i-correctional kule midlalo emachungechunge ithola imali lengu-24,000 njengoba bobabe bathole 12,000 kanti nabomake nabo bathole 12,000. Ngaphasi kwe-B Division licembu lembabane Tigers kube ngilo bochampagne kulandzela kuncoba kwaluseni nga-3-0. Lobikela umsakathi Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kaManzini.
Iqembu leMbabane Highlanders likhonile ukuphumelela nalidlala nelicembu leMadlenya ngephansi kwe-MTN Premier League. Anzike ligoli lenkunzi lishaywe nguThami Zulu esigameni sesibili umdlalo waphela ngalinye ecanzeni. Umdlalo udlalelwe kaLanga esukwini layiDolo. Anze kulenye licembu leManzini Wanderers libekwe esandla ngemagoli lamathathu ecanzeni emdlalweni walo neNsingizini Hotspurs ngephansi kwendlebe ye-MTN Premier League. Umdlalo lodlalelwe kaLanga esukwini layiDolo. iNsingizini ngiyo legadle ekuqala ngaNyasha Chintuli. Kanike Sambulo Simelana ugadle lesibili layo eNsingizini. iManzini Wanderers ihlulekile kutfola ligoli ngisho noMbembe libhola sekalibeke emlotheni. Ncedisi Dlamini nguye loshaya igoli lesithathu leNsingizini Hotspurs umdlalo waphela ngalamathathu ecanzeni. Sibahloti makethe ngekuphela kwato tindzabate siswati sitawubuya sichumane labachamuka ka micro projects.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusemndeni.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7 hash. Or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewers' TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Asibize sinimukele siyakuvusela nalo sanzaku sivulela besivedile ukuthi sitabe sikhulumisana nemcondzisi wenkampani yahulumende micro projects sitakumuleka ukuthi lena inkampani yahulumende lenta imisebenzi lemikhulu emimangweni inhloso yayo ukuthi inciphise buphuya khona emimangweni siyayibona ke imisebenzi ya micro projects njengoba nje yakha intuthuko khona lemakhaya kwakhiwa ama deep tank kwakhiwa emabloho ekhamba kwakhiwa tikolwa lokwana lokwa intuthuko nje iyabonakala ikakhulukati khona etindzaweni leti semaphandleni sifuna ukuva ke kuye lapho umcondzisi Sibusiso Mbingo ukuva ukuthi ngabe bangilenkampani abasebenza kanjani eminyakeni ohulumende lophelile ama projects laba implementile ama projects laphumelele nama projects mhlambe laba wagatsile kulomnyaka sifusela babembingo sabonga ukuthi benathilo mhla ehlelweni macro projects inkampani lesebenza kakhulu inkampani yahulumende sinibonile insita sive lesinengi emimangweni lihlwahlukene lapha eveni kube nje kusiniketa leso sithombe ukuthi vele inhloso ya macro projects yini kahle nifise kufika phi nje mhlambe ningele nkampani extensive.
Thombeni asivusele emaswatini onke kube kubika ukuthi luphiko loka micro projects luphiko lolukhungeleke etiko lekuhlala kuthuthukisa umnotho le unity la iphethwe khona nokubika ukuthi kusebenza kwalo luphiko lisebenza kakhulu nesive lisebenza kakhulu nelitiko letinkundla libike lisebenza cishe nje nawo onke ematiko kahulumende kusebenza kwalo luphiko kakhulu kuye bese kuthenini kwetanywa ukuthi kuqedwe buphuya ke indzaba lenkulu Thombeni nangabe ungathi uyayihlahlela kepha kakhulu ngakithi sibuke nje ukuthi sive asikhona ukuthi imisebenzi yahulumende ifike eduze nesive kungaba dikolwa kungaba ngamadiphi kungaba tindzaba tekuletha geze emakhaya kakhulu kubambisa ematiko kahulumende sisasebenza nawo ukuthi la khona ematiko kahulumende mhlambe amandla ahamba bemafishane khona bese lo luphiko ngikubambisana ematiko kahulumende lifake imali leto nathi safaka leti imali tekusita sive kakhulu kuye kubuka ukuthi lemisebenzi isuka khona emiphakathi ngoba intuthuko funa singakhweshi kakhulu emphakathi lapho ikhulekwe khona seyingakhuphuka ke imisebenzi ke ihambe yotekwa enkundleni itekwe nakulama office kejamba mabamba la iqala khona iqala emphakathi la khona sive sihlala khona sibe sisebenza kakhulu netwethu inkundla bathuthukisi nangalanga ke sibakhona abathuthukisi bese ke siyahamba siya esiveni lapho sesibitwe khona siyolalela ukuthi sive sikhala ngani bese lo msebenzi ke siyasukuma kungaba uhlelo lokuqala engingaqhaza lolo lwesibili ke uhlelo lokuletha intuthuko ngila khona sekubonakala ukuthi uhulumende so ikakhulu ematiko kahulumende sayamthuma micro projects ukuthi nginana imali lengithole emaphakelweni ngiphuthumele uyongakhela ikliniki enzaweni letsite ngiphuthumele ungakhela isikole enzaweni letsite lukhona nohlelo nalo lomunye umkhono lokhala ngekhathi kaMichael la khona ematiko singabe kusenje netiko lemaphoyisa seliyakhona ukuthi Michael ngilungise na stage sami lapha silimele lolunye uhlelo sinalo lo siliqhubako lolunye uhlelo lukhona futhi kaMichael projects kakhulu nelitiko tenkundla kusebenta indzaba yaka Regional Development Fund litiko tenkundla ke nase luwendele umsebenzi wekuhlola ukuthi kudzakala inesiveni liye bese liyamcela micro project ukuthi hamba ungithengele leto tikulumba leso sigayo bese sive siyasitakala lolunye uhlelo singalibika lolukhona esiveni sisebenzisana kakhulu nenhlangano lesuka laseMelika la khona kutholakala ukuthi kuye kube bafunzi labasuka kulela laseMelika bethe eveni lakangwane batothola lwati ngekusebenza nje ke enzabenta botebetebe lo hlelo lukhona ka micro projects nakhona sive sesibonile siphuma kanyenti sibambisana naye micro project nalama Melika kwakhe botebetebe labayinguga laba bese bayishintsha impilo yesive sikhona sive kufika etikolweni kuma kliniki emigwaqweni nokunje sikhona ukuthengisana sive sodwana
lokhu uchaza nje kangaka nje Mr Mbinga kuyavakala lokuthi vele ama projects lenunako maningi kakhulu kume nje ukusinika itasithome sokuthi eminyakeni wa 2023 2024 ngimaphi lama projects mhlambe lenwasebentile ngimaphi la be successful aphumelela ngitiphi nje indzawo lesingathi vele mhlambe seyiyabonakala leyo ntuthuko leyo
Thombeni singaqhaza ukuthi imisebenzi igcwele ivelonke sokutaba nje ukuqaphuna lapha nalapha kepha nje singabekisa semadibhini sibambisene kakhulu netwele tekulima eminyakeni lophelile emadibhi la ngetulo kwelishumi nesihlanu 15 akhiwe aphela singabekisa ukuthi botebetebe labakhiwe nje eminyakeni lophelile uwodwana laba lesibasebenza neMamelika sibakhile botebetebe lwangu7 enzaweni lehlukene eveni lo hlelo botebetebe ke lisuka lemuva bo2017 lo mnyaka nje sikhuluma kuona namuhla sesibakhile botebetebe laba ngama22 22 lasebakhiwe lokunye ke siyasebenzisana kakhulu netiko la natural resources la khona sisita kuletha imali lahlobele emakhaya singabekisa seminyakeni lophelile tikimtemani leti 18 seticishe takhiwe eveni lokuye kuhlupheka tikimtemani ukuthi tiyadula kakhulu siyeke bese sisebenza ngetikhawu ngama phases siqhubeke siyasebenza kakhulu netiko lelibuke kakhulu under Ministry of Public Works emsebenzini omkhulu eveni nakhona sisebenza kakhulu kubambisa litiko la works kuletha emabloho esivene lokunye lesikubonile kune luhlelo selusukumisile la khona sisebenza kakhulu nesive ukuthi nangabe kubonakala ukuthi bantu abakhona ukuya emisebentini la kunedulu abakhona ukuphuma etindlini sesinehlelo la khona sihlangana khona nesive kulungiswa lo mgwaqo loyo ngabe kusenjapho bo Fairview North bompholi so konke komgwaqo lapho sive siyakhona ukuthi bakuphumena kunelitulu baye emsebentini uqashwa tigulumba sive sibuye nemapiki nemafosholo kugujwe imisele tigulumba dilungiswa lo mgwaqo lo kusebenza sive ngemadlana yesincane siyifakako nase kupheleleke kuthengwe konke lapha kumathapha kukhonkwe sesiyakhona sive kuwela sengabe kusasileyo umsebenzi lo seyikhona ungabe kusenjana nawukahlathi edolobheni so ufuna kuya esandleni awusaphumi ngale emthambama so vele uhambela amaphoyiseni kahlathi wehlele emthambama kunenzawo nje lekushela kakhulu kuthiwa kumdonsa sekukhonkiwe lapho sekuyabashiphela abantu ukuthi nabaya esandleni bavele behle nje la kahlathi basuka lapha edolobheni kahlathi behlele esandleni bangasayi emthambama ngabeka isemsebenzini eficishe ifana naleyo lekhona eveni la khona sivo sisiphume ngetinkani silungisa lemigwaqo lemncane singaqhaza ukuthi vele asikhonki lokutse kuye kubonisa kuyacishe kuyashelela la amaneke phela ngemafosholo uqashe tigulumba bese kuyakhonka lapha nje lutse bekunenzawo lembi lapha kuboboyana leshelelako nakhona siphumule sive ngetinkani kweta baka Michael phathe amafosholo balungisa kwabuya ematshe athelwa kabuya tigulumba kwakhonkwa sikeweleka nawo ngabe ubheka lapha kubokuthena ngaba nje kubekisa leyo msebenzi cishe ifana nale neqhaza ukuthi vele siyaqizela siveni lokuthi akube khona phela abahlangabetana ngabo kwanyayo lo mthetho uyamgunyata micro project ukuthi akumele phela kube nge10% lo 10% akusiyo imali sihlangabedo ngamandla akulo 10% sikhwama senjele bese niyasihlanganisa nale mali akayithathi ehulumende nase sesicala kusebenza phela kube sekuthatha lesikhwama senifuna lamatshe ngaso niqasha tigulumba nifake amandla ngayo mhlawumbe futhi kule mali yenu nifuna nemahewu phela ngoba sivina sisebenza phela kufuna kube khona lokuyesiswini so le mali isebenza lokho bese bangamandla enu sekuba ngamatshe so aqhamuka ke uhulumende uletha tigulumba leqashe labaqashile kuyakhonkwa kubuya semende laphana kubuya ikhonko lapha kumathapha kuyathelwa ngekwenta njalo ke letindleko ukuthi yehla ngoba sike nje sabekisa ukuthi uma ngabe ukhonka umgwaqo usenze contract singasebenze sive uyampathala 6 million kepha lo hlelo ukuthi kusebenze sive kuqashe tigulumba ulandwe khonko lomathapha likilometer seling 2.8 million ukuthi ke iyongeka ile mali ngokuthi sive sesitosebenza bese ke lokushipha ke ngokuthi kusebenza sive sekuba nyendile lathi sebasitha kala kule mali ngoba kufanele singabaleki ekutheni lo sitho lidzinga sive ngaphandle lunyenti kakhulu uma ubuka imali bese uhulumende uba nayo ngaleso sikhathi ukuhlangabetha lo sitho ngakho ke kuye kukwentiwe tonke tindlela ukuthi kwehlise tindleko ukuze ukuthi nabani lokuyiphinza akhona ukusitaka kuleti khwama RDF akhona isitaka kuleti khwama mhlawumbe uhulumende lathi ivuleka micro project
lokusevedile nje baba empingo yenza ba 10% mhlambe kungaba kusichazelo ukuthi vele le procedure icala kanjani uma nje ngibekise nje kune scheme imangweni lothide sifuna mhlambe kuvula scheme semandi noma sagesi noma ke kune bantu nje balimi labafuna kwakhiwe la i-deep tank bacala kuphi baye emphakathi ithini vele nje le procedure lekumele ukuthi bayilandzele yini ledzingekako amaphepha ladzingekako yini ledzingekako vele kahle
umgubudla ntuthuko ngeke ngaveta eqaleni sasethu ukuthi uqala khona emphakathi lokuye kubheke sive siyahlangana emphakathi sidinga izinto ntuthuko umphakathi ngilafika uhlungwe khona ukuthi singumphakathi sisenga emande singa lidip singa isikolo kepha lokusishisa kakhulu ngiyabekisa lidip bese ke ngila khona ke umphakathi bese ke so uyalithinza litikwethe inkundla la khona kunebathuthukisi nenkundla siyathinzeka ngoba cishe umphakathi ngemphakathi phela siyakhumbula ukuthi kuba nababuqopho ngila khona ke bese lobo buqopho sebakhona kuthinza bathuthukisi sebayeta baka micro bahamba nebathuthukisi iyatekwa inzaba emphakathi ngila khona ke naye phela bathuthukisi nabaka micro abedi bodwana beta nelitiko lelithinzekako kulomsebenzi nabe nje kulidip so uyeta na agriculture uyana uyaqhaza vele deep liyadzingeka kule ndzawo le sikavunyelwa na ke siyakhuphuka isicelo sihamba nakhona siyobuka enkundleni nasenga sicela enkundleni la khona sekuhlangana inkundla council ukhona MP bakhona ebuqopho nesicelo futhi siyabona kathi vele sing number 1 lesicelo lesi siyakhuphuka isicelo ke sihamba siya ka DC noma kuba RS kuba regions sifike sikhanza khona ke lamatiko kahulumende singabekisa nje nabe sikhuluma ngaselibonjeni elibonjeni kapha ka RS bakhona baka health bakhona baka education ka REO cisho onke amatiko akahulumende akhona kuma regions kunelibandla ke le regional development committee lebese liyahlangana ke liphasa ke RS lobese lesicelo siyabuka futhi nakhona lapho kuthiwa i-desk appraisal seliyaphuma ke lelibandla emva lokho liyahamba lelesiveni liyohlola kuthiwa i-field appraisal ukuthi bekunene kufike isicelo ku-region la khona nesinidzinga lidiphi asenichaza sichaze ke sisinga lidiphi lelikhashane bantwana baphutha kufika esikolweni iyatekwa sebabudwa ke nihlangabetangana ngabikisa nje dibhini live sive siye bese siyamhlanganisa mhlambe lelo account yaso ube abe khona lo 15000 lo 15000 lo raise sive akamthathi uhulumende uye bese usebenta kwakha umthoyi uyasebenza kuqasha digulumba saphasa lapho ke lesicelo kwabonakala ukuthi vele sive sisukume ngengane siyalifuna lidiphi siyakhupha ke isicelo siye enhloko office ka micro project nangabe mhlambe usikhwama saka micro project nangabe njalo ku RDF siyakhupha isicelo siya etiko letinkundla la khona ke sidibana abahlonishwa nangabe ku RDF siyaphasa lesicelo leso nangabe ka micro project PS lo phethe micro project phase litiko lehlethuthusa umnotho ubese uhlangana labayebo PS siyaphasa ke isicelo nasiphasa ke isicelo sesiyehla ke siya ka micro project ubuya ama budget leso sivele sesitala ngelidip nase etato sebenza ke micro project lo 15% soyahlangabeta bafuki babambe imihlangano batrainwa ukuthi batawusebenza njani impahla yohulumende naseyifikile itawugcina njani ngoba lokumntwa kakhulu ukuthi kube ne accountability le mali lempahla ingathi nayifika bese mhlambe seyimela inyawo yini so kuba ne training kube namakomiti lakhuwako latawusebenza nasekufika lempahla yohulumende sekubuya ke kuyelidip liyagujwa bakhona baka agriculture ba supervisor ke baka agriculture ukuthi ngabe le dip vele likuma standards abo yini lokho ukuthi akusho kube kusebenza service esitawakha lokugwegwile nje ukhona agriculture unema standard designs wakhe amadip lakhiwe lidip sisebenze sive ngelanga ke ukhanya ukuthi sive nasite kahle 30 to 50 webantu bayeta abantu osebenza edipini ukhanyisa lidip liyakhiwa liyaphela angakapheli 3 months emva kwaloko inkomo zechayimanti sive sesitakele kakhulu ke amadip asita ukuthi anqiphise nokugedwa komhlaba ngani ngoba le inkomo nathamba indlela lenze kuyakulenye dip umhlaba uyalimala setha khona inkomo kudipha tudane nabantwana sebakhona ukudibhisa baqedza bakujakela esikolweni ngalamafisha luhlelo lolufuqwa sive ete uhulumende siva sihlangabete ngila khona uhulumende siva kasukela kodwa sitona sona sisukumela sona sibukele singakuhlanganisa kakhulu yini lokukhona emangweni lesingakusebenzisa ukuthuthukisa lenze kepha kakhulu sikhutsata ukuthi sive sithi sitobamba lo msebenzi siqhazile ke ukuthi ke nangaphandle kwaloko ematiko nanawo ngiyabekisa ngetiko la ka health selwakhile ama clinic cishe venlonga singabekisa nakhona imali ka health litiko sive siye ka health etiko singabekisa nje kuma regions bakhona ba regional health administrator la khona sive sifika khona sikhala ngokuthi singa iclinic litiko la ka health ke lasikhupha isicelo sofika endlunkulu saphasa isicelo endlunkulu ka health ubese ke etiko lempilo liyamthinza micro project lapha ngine budget ngitsenga iclinic laphana ehlane bese leyo budget leyo siyayisebenzisa kwakha leyo clinic leyo ngalamafisha lendlela yokusitakala kwesive dinyenti akusinye phela lokho lesinye isikhathi sive siqonza nje ngqo ka REO siyofuna isikolo nakhona ke REO unemabandla lasebenza ngawo bo education advisory board laba sebaphuma khona ngale angekho micro project bawukhuluma nesive ngalamafisha letindlela tentuthuko tinyenti kakhulu satsewethu lengadibala kapha nje kakhulu bengisaqhaza lena yokuthola lusito ka micro project ngikuthola lusito mhlambe etiko letinkundla ngoba konke kwetinkundla lo micro tinkundla letikhwama tabo education tinkundla leti khwama ta health silo tinkundla konke kwetinkundla ngalamafisha nje kude longathi mhlawumbe kusebenza kulumule kulokunye yini konke kusebenta phasi kokuthuthukisa imisebenzi yetinkundla kuletha lusito dudane nesifo.
Okay. So ngifuna sikhulume nje mhlambe ngelizinga lema applications leni watfolako Mr Mbiko ngabe vele mhlambe niyakhona yini kusita bonke labo labafaka ticelo ukuthi mhlambe bafuna abacela kwakhiwela lokhu niyakhona yini kubasita nandi buka lokuhambisana nebudget yeni lemniketwe yona niyakhona yini vele kusita sonke sive bakhona yini abasola bangakhona sitakala kusukela emnyakeni lophelile nalokuthi umnyaka ohulumende sowuphelile.
Singeke siphike ethombeni ukuthi vele kulideleze tidzingo tesive tinyende kakhulu na ubuka bozukana babe khona lokuye kwenteke kuye kubothi vele ngisiphi sapha saqala bese siphuthuma sona ke siyasebenza sibambisene enkundla vele ngeke saphika ukuthi na ubuka imali kuhulumende kuyatholakala nangabe kwentekile uhulumende wamkhangeta RDF wamkhangeta micro project siye sikhona ukuthi sibuke ukuthi oh lebe kanginumber 1 noma ngi2 years ago noma kunini akachubeka sitakala bese labaye uyothi nawuthi uyefika kubo khanye sevele bona base bayalithola lisito ngabekisa nje tikimta bogezi ukhathi mhlambe bafakile isicelo sabo mhlambe soloka sikaphasi sibathuke bona bodwana bathola mhlambe kulenye kule kana natural resources uthi uyefika kuba cha saze micro siyasitakala kana natural resources bana kana natural resources kunesikhwama lesibuke kuthuthukisa kuletha gezi emakhanya i-rural access fund la khona ba natural resources basebenza kuletha gezi emakhaya ngalamafisha tinyende tikhwama letilabhana lapha kepha ngalamafisha sithi nangabe siyani ngasitakala sichubeka siyanisitha seyikhona imali nangabe njalo seniyekelenye litiko nasitakala sebalandzela labaye basitakala.
Okay, so ngifuna sikhulume ngama conflicts Mr Mbingo ukuthi nibe nawo in markets zokhanza ukuthi mhlambe sekucatshenwe enzaweni lethide sekumele ukuthi nani ningenelele umphakathi ungenelele ingabe vele iyamiswa yini leyo projects leyo kuve kusalungiswa ngalana lokho kucabana lokubese kuba khona.
Sikhazile ethombeni ukuthi ukusasenjetwa isicelo sisuke emphakathi kuba lemihlangano so uma umphakathi osibita nesitha nabathuthukisi sikhanza ukuthi lapha kufunela scheme semandi la kepha kunananga umuti lapha yana lo khala ukuthi leli pipe libonakala ngasilita uhamba ensimini yami vele uyema lo msebenzi ngoba asifuni ukuthi nasefaka ipipe lapha bese liyajujwa so kuye kufuna kutholakala ukuthi vele lesive sivumelene ukuthi siyawudzinga lo msebenzi lemihlangano eminingi ke kuyemphakathi yekuye enkundleni nokuthi kusuke ama officials akahulumende ayovakashela sive kusuke kukanywa ufuna kuhlobe kahle hle kusukude yini liphungana ukuthi mina ngiva ngathi ngalomsebenzi lona ngiyanyatheleka so ke utama kunciphisa emathuba ukuthi mhlambe nasuqala umsebenzi soyema ukuthi bese kuvela bathi mhlambe bayakhala sike sakubona ke kodwa phambilini ukuthi uthi usaqala umsebenzi ufuna kusenjetwa ngiyabekisa uvumbwe ke tindzaba tembanga kuboshifu ukhona vele siye sikubone lokho ukuthi qwa sikulokuningi kangakanani lapho kwabonakala vele ukuthi mhlambe lenzayo inembango thide vele siye singaqali lo msebenzi siye sime singabekisa njalo kahoko kwaba khona ukukhuluma thide ngekuthi lenzawo lelikhulu timbila tibone ngasolinye vele yo clinic leyo baka health baba sebayithutha kwasetakala abanye so kuye kube khonyane lenzabe ukuthi boshifu mhlambe kukhona kukhuma lokukhona ngalo mhlaba lo lofuna usebende ekwakheni leto takhiwo lethu kepha akusikwe singathi mhlambe ngibona kunyende kakhulu kunqane kakhulu nangabe kwentekile vele siyema simele kuze kulunge lokukhuluma bese ke ematuko kahulumende abuya tosebenza.
Yeah, so kuvama ukuthatha isikhathi esinganani nje mhlambe lokho kuma lokho mhlambe noma ngabekisa ngama cases la khona ukuthi nake namasikhathi esinganani kungikhani umphakathi resolve ukuthi kuchubeke le project thide.
Ukukhuluma lokuba khona etikhulwini akukaphathwa vele ngalapha ngakethi ka micro project kuphethwe kuba RA la lenzaba tekwa khona siye sibe beteke emandla ukuthi ngabe sekupheleni siye sive ngaso sive ukuthi athi lithiwe inkundla cha sekuqedziwe ukukhuluma lapha sesingethe kusebenza but ngalapha ngakethi asikhona ukusho ukuthi kuphela nini kuye kube ngile ukuthi-ke sekuphumile isijubo saloko kukhuluma lokho sive ngaso sive nasesita nebathuthukisa ukuthi cha seyiphelele indzaba sesingeda kutosebenza.
Okay, kuma kokugcina nje Mr Mbingo umnyaka lomusha ucalile nyalo April ama-applications seniqalile niwathola ingaba vele nawo nibuke ukuthi nidawa sebenza kanjani niwabuka kanjani ukuthi no asicale nganaye sibuke nganaye niyabuka lokuthi hayi lena imcoka idingekile mhlambe kuleyo ndzawo niyasibuka isimo salendzawo mhlambe leyo mphakathi loyo noma leyo mango loyo.
Thombe TikTok ingena onke amalanga. Dingena onke amalanga lokuye sikugadze tisangena ticelo kuba ngibobozukana. Sitawukhumbula ukuthi lamalanga eParliament indvune temafa beyilethe amaphakelo lafike aphasa lesikugadzileke nathi sesikhongodele lusito libuya kuhulumende sinathi vele ukuthi mali leto sitawuhamba siyosebenza ngalamafisha ticelo dingena onke amalanga kwethu nje ukuthi nasethi imali tikhona evikini eliphenje kukhona lesikutholatholile ukhanzeke ukuthi-ke kungena nje vele kune ma-payments noma-ke soloko kunethithile efuna tibhadalwe singabekisa sengokakhulu esiye sikubothi nasifika imali sibuya leticelo nekwente elikhona tibhadalwe kuqala singakaqali umsebenzi lomusha kwanyalo ngeke sifihle sisabhadala vele ngoba lokuningi sikwentile so sigadze imali setiqale tiyangena-ke seseqala siyabhadala kepha-ke ticelo nathi tiyachubeka tiyangena.
Okay, no, ngiyavala kakhulu Mr Mbingo. Akusiniketa nje leso sithombe sokuthi nisebenze kanjani eminyakeni lophile nama projects nje lesenwendile kulama sectors lahlukile bo agriculture, bo ICT kanye ne-education. Inhloso ke ama projects ukuthi kuthuthuke imimango lehlukahlukene lapha eveni. Sibahlele imarket nasibuya sithatha ngephandle kwakuleli.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Ujala masada mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu
sivile sive sithi khulume.
Hi, I'm Alex. Let's talk about banks. Specifically, central banks. Believe it or not, they're really important to our everyday lives. Central banks manage the flow of money in a country's economy, so things don't go haywire. They're typically part of the government, although they should operate independently. The specific roles of central banks vary from country to country, but they usually have a few key responsibilities. Mainly, they're in charge of monetary policy to keep prices stable. One way they do this is through what's called the interest rate, which is the cost of borrowing money. Central banks lower interest rates, making credit cheap to boost the economy. Because when credit to buy things, such as homes, food, and cars gets cheaper, people tend to buy more. And who doesn't love that? But when prices get too high, central banks can raise rates, making money more expensive to borrow. This can slow growth, but it also brings down prices. Central banks also buy and sell foreign currency. They can do this to weaken or support the value of their own currency. Stability isn't just about keeping prices steady. That's why central banks also play a key role in preserving financial stability. For example, if a commercial bank is in trouble, a central bank can give them a loan, but only as a last resort. Central banks have been using all of these tools to help keep things stable for hundreds of years. Okay, so why am I telling you this? Well, whether you're buying bread, or a pomegranate, or even starting a business, that stability is important for all of us. And here at the IMF, a big part of our job is providing policy advice that can help central banks all over the world meet their price and financial stability goals.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at international news. Iran launched explosive drones and fired missiles at Israel late on Saturday in its first direct attack on Israeli territory, a retaliatory strike against Israel's bombing of its consulate in Syria's capital on April 1st that killed 7 members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. An Israel military spokesman said Sunday the Iranian launches numbered more than 300, but 99% of them were intercepted.
The sound of sirens pierced the night sky as the moment everyone had been fearing finally arrived in the early hours of Sunday morning, an Iranian missile strike on Israeli territory. The attack was confirmed in a televised address.
Last night, Iran launched an attack against Israel and launched more than 300 threats of various kinds. The Iranian threat met the air and technological superiority of the IDF, combined with a strong fighting coalition that together intercepted the vast majority of the threats.
The attack marks the first time Iran has launched a direct military assault on Israel, despite decades of hostility between the two. Iran had vowed revenge since an April the 1st airstrike in Syria killed 2 Iranian generals inside a consulate building in Damascus, which they blamed on Israel. For his part, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to US President Joe Biden early on Sunday. Shortly after the conversation, Biden confirmed that US forces had helped to take down nearly all of the drones and missiles fired by Iran, adding that he had reaffirmed his ironclad support to Israel and Netanyahu. Shortly after the strikes, the office of the Iranian ambassador to the UN posted on social media, warning against US involvement.
The matter can be deemed concluded. However, should the Israeli regime make another mistake, Iran's response will be considerably more severe. It is a conflict between Iran and the rogue Israeli regime, from which the US must stay away.
In the Iranian capital, hundreds took to the streets to celebrate the attack. Also on Sunday, Iran's allies, the Lebanese Hezbollah and the Yemeni Houthi rebels, carried out their own anti-Israeli attacks.
The White House calls it an incredible military achievement that Israel, the United States and other partners succeeded in repelling more than 300 drones and missiles launched by Iran towards Israel.
A barrage of objects streaks across the night sky from Bethlehem in the West Bank amid drone and missile attacks from Iran toward Israel. The Israeli military says the Islamic Republic launched more than 300 such projectiles, but said it, with help from the U.S. and partners, shot down 99% of them. Iran has warned it would hit Israel in retaliation after a suspected Israeli airstrike earlier this month destroyed the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria, killing 12, including 2 top Iranian generals. U.S. President Joe Biden issued a statement on X, formerly Twitter, confirming U.S. involvement in the operation and reaffirming what he calls America's ironclad commitment to the security of Israel. His presumptive opponent for the 2024 presidential election, former President Donald Trump, took to his social media platform to say without evidence the attack would never have happened if he were president. By all accounts, the damage inside Israel was minimal, something Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian describes as deliberate. At a recent news conference in Tehran, he said Iran communicated the attack to the White House and regional neighbors in what he called a legitimate defense and punishment of the Israeli regime. But by Sunday morning, Biden administration officials took a victory lap for the coordinated defense against Iran's barrage.
truly a successful night, and due to a lot of skill, a lot of professionalism, and a lot of coordination across the board. Israel succeeded in defending itself, and the United States certainly made good our commitment to help them do that.
U.S. lawmakers supporting Israel's self-defense rejected the idea of a broadening regional conflict that would include American soldiers.
I don't think at this point that the United States should be engaged in a military action directly at Iran, but I do believe that if this administration fails to step up to the plate and understand that we have an escalating conflict and make it clear to Iran that there are red lines and that the United States will defend Israel and will not allow Iran to become a weapon state, that we will be in a broader conflict and we will have less options.
Video from Iran after the attack shows people celebrating in Tehran, waving both Iranian and Palestinian flags as their country's leadership vows ongoing solidarity with Palestinians amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict.
Countries around the world condemned Iran's strikes on Israel late Saturday, warning the attack threatened to further destabilize the Middle East. U.S. President Joe Biden promised ironclad support for Israel after holding an urgent meeting with top security officials. France's Foreign Minister Eswatini said that in deciding to take this unprecedented action, Iran has reached a new level in its acts of destabilization and is risking military escalation.
Iran's unprecedented attack on Israeli territory has prompted a wave of concern in Israel and further afield. Over in the US, President Biden vowed support for Israel and said he will hold a meeting with fellow G7 leaders on Sunday to coordinate a response. In France, the government has strongly condemned the assault.
France condemns in the strongest possible terms Iran's attack on Israel. In deciding to take this unprecedented action, Iran has reached a new level in its acts of destabilization and is risking a military escalation.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak also slammed the attack, describing it as reckless, and promised that his government would stand with Israel. The Defence Ministry said additional RAF jets have been sent to the region, ready to intercept airborne attacks within range. In Egypt, Cairo's foreign ministry said that it would be in direct contact with all those involved in the conflict to try and contain the situation. Also among those calling for the de-escalation of hostilities is UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres.
I urge all parties to exercise maximum restraint to avoid any action that could lead to major military confrontations on multiple fronts in the Middle East. I have repeatedly stressed that neither the region nor the world can afford another war.
The UN Security Council is set to hold a meeting on Sunday after Israel called on the council to condemn the attack.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Friday said he expected Iran to attack Israel sooner rather than later and warned Tehran not to proceed. Israel braced on Friday for an attack by Iran or its proxies as warning crews of retaliation for an attack on Iran's embassy compound last week in Damascus that killed a senior commander in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps overseas Quds Force and 6 other officers.
Allies of Israel are on high alert. Nobody is willing to call Iran's bluff. Even the US president has made no secret of his expectations of an imminent retaliatory attack.
Expectations sooner than later.
His message to Iran:
don't.
Biden also reiterated his support of Israel as his teams continue to monitor the situation. In the event of such an attack, Israel says it's ready.
Our defenses are ready, and we know how to deal with each threat separately. As well as defense, we are prepared to attack. We are ready to attack with a range of capabilities, and we know how to act and protect the people of Israel.
Iran has so far refrained from taking any direct action against Israel since the start of the war in Gaza. Tensions flared following a strike on the Iranian consulate in Damascus on April 1st, which killed 16 people, including 7 members of Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Tehran believes it was committed by the Israeli forces with the US involved and has warned of retaliation.
The evil regime made a mistake. In this regard, it must and will be punished. When they attacked our consulate, they attacked our territory.
Since those threats, countries including France, Germany, India and Russia have warned their citizens not to travel to the region.
An incoming attack by more than 300 Iranian drones and ballistic missiles was the latest challenge to Israel's air defense system, which already has been working overtime to cope with incoming rocket, drone and missile attacks throughout the 6-month war against Hamas.
The Iron Dome, the anti-missile system used for more than a decade to intercept rockets fired from the Palestinian territories in Lebanon, wouldn't have had the capacity to block all of the missiles sent by Iran and its proxies. The dome is up to 95% effective, but only for short-range rockets. Iran is more than 1,000 kilometers away. That's where Israel's other defense systems come in. David Sling meant to counter medium-range missiles. The Arrow 3, developed in the U.S. to intercept long-range missiles fired from thousands of kilometers away, already used to destroy missiles sent by the Houthis. These interceptors, plus the old Patriot system used for decades, couldn't have stopped all of the Iranian drones and missiles without warplanes that shut down many of the vessels.
Among 170 drones launched by Iran, 0 entered Israel. Dozens were intercepted by Israeli warplanes, our air defense system, and the air defense systems and planes of our allies. Among more than 30 cruise missiles which Iran fired towards us, 0 entered Israel.
Israel cites the U.S., Britain, Jordan, and France as the allies that allowed to intercept the Iranian attack. U.S. forces shut down dozens of drones and several missiles from their various bases. Washington bolstered its presence in the region after October 7th and again in recent weeks, anticipating and hoping to deter an attack from Tehran.
TRT journalist Sami Shihada was wounded by an Israeli strike in Gaza on Friday as he and his crew were filming. Israeli forces launched strikes and raids in central and northern Gaza, killing and wounding dozens, according to residents of the refugee camp. Viewer discretion is advised.
A man is rushed to hospital. He's wearing a press jacket and part of his right leg is missing.
We were filming when we were targeted by a strike. I don't know if it was a missile or a tank. I was wearing my press gear with a helmet. It was clear, even for a blind person, that I was a journalist.
It's the result of a day of deadly Israeli raids on central and northern Gaza. Residents of the Nuseirat refugee camp say dozens were killed or wounded in air and ground assaults. Further north in Gaza City, the Hamas-run health ministry also says 25 members of a family were killed in an airstrike that hit their home.
We were asleep when the people suddenly started coming out of the building because a missile had struck. We didn't hear the missile or anything. We were all sleeping. I came to find my sister, her sons and her daughters. All were killed. All I found was their remains.
The fighting is also taking place outside of Gaza. Early on Friday, 2 Palestinians were killed in confrontations with Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank. Hamas says one of those killed was a local commander. According to Israel, Mohammed Omar Daragme, carried here as a martyr during his funeral, had been planning attacks against Israel for the past few months.
Haiti's government formalized the creation of a 9-member transitional presidential council on Friday, a long-delayed move intended as the first step in restoring security to the gang-ravaged Caribbean country. Nearly 95,000 people have fled the metropolitan area of the capital, Port-au-Prince, in the last month, as armed gangs have cemented their control. Haitians are lacking basic goods as key ports remain closed, while the outgoing government remains absent.
It's a move aimed at re-establishing order in Haiti as the country grapples with a surge in gang violence. A month after Prime Minister Ariel Henry announced he would step down, the country's government has issued a decree formalizing the creation of a transitional presidential council. the Caribbean Community and Common Market, which worked with Haiti to establish a framework for the council, hailed the news.
The establishment of the 9-member broad-based, politically inclusive council signals the possibility of a new beginning for Haiti.
In the wake of Henri's announcement, the council is tasked with choosing a new prime minister and cabinet. Haiti has been without a president since the assassination of Jovenel Moïse in 2021. The council will exercise certain presidential powers until the inauguration of a new president, which the decree says must take place no later than the 7th of February 2026. But certain details, including the names of the members and a timeframe for replacing Henri, have not been clarified. The council is intended to help establish conditions for the deployment of an international police force to tackle increasingly powerful armed gangs. Amid the violence, locals are facing a dire humanitarian situation.
I'm in Port-au-Prince, where there's been violence since late February. This violence has caused massive displacement. It's shut down schools, it's shut down places of work, and we're facing a humanitarian crisis here. Right now, WFP is trying to provide food assistance to the displaced population. We've been able to provide between 20 and 30,000 hot meals every single day.
As the gangs tighten their grip on the capital, Port-au-Prince, nearly 95,000 people have fled the area in the last month.
6 people were killed and several others injured, including a 9-month-old baby, when a knife-wielding attacker rampaged through a busy Sydney shopping centre on Saturday. Australian police said multiple people were stabbed by the unidentified assailant, who was tracked down and shot dead by a policewoman who is being hailed as a national hero.
Violence broke out at a mall in Sydney on Saturday after shoppers say a man wielding a knife began stabbing people indiscriminately. Police soon arrived, shooting the suspected assailant dead. Witnesses describe crowds of people running from the attack.
And just as we were coming around the corner, there he was. He just come in and just started floating towards us, and all I heard was put it down. And then she shot him, but we were not. If she didn't shoot him, well, he would have kept going. He was on the rampage. He was on the bloody rampage.
The motive behind the attack is not yet known, but police say the perpetrator appears to have acted alone. Shortly afterwards, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese praised those who stepped in to help.
Today, Bondi Junction was the scene of shocking violence, but it was also witness to the humanity and the heroism of our fellow Australians. Our brave police, our first responders, and of course everyday people who could never have imagined that they would face such a moment. And yet for these Australians, their first instinct in the face of danger was to help someone else.
This type of attack is extremely rare in Australia. In November 2018, the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for an incident in which a knife-wielding individual killed 1 person and injured 2 others on a Melbourne street. That assailant was also shot dead by police.
The first criminal trial of a former U.S. president is set to begin this coming week in New York City. Donald Trump's hush money case will start on Monday with jury selection. Separately, President Joe Biden will hit the campaign trail in Pennsylvania.
The battleground state of Pennsylvania was the last election campaign stop for Donald Trump ahead of his hush money trial on Monday in New York. He faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records allegedly to hide a 2006 sexual encounter with porn star Stormy Daniels. During Saturday's rally in Schnecksville, the presumptive Republican presidential candidate once again decried the case as a witch hunt.
They're all Biden trials, you know that, right? And I'm proud to do it for you. Have a good time watching.
Since this will be the first criminal trial ever of a former president, the case will indeed be under scrutiny, noted political analyst Calvin Dark.
I believe that so far the judges, for the most part, judges and the prosecutors, have done a really good job in trying to make sure that the treatment that Trump gets is as close as possible to what the average American would expect if they were in a similar situation.
Appearing Sunday on ABC's This Week, the governor of New Hampshire, Republican Chris Sununu, said he doesn't expect the hush money trial will have major political ramifications for Trump.
He'll probably go back on the campaign trail and almost like rehash what's going on. He'll try to victimize it, and that has worked for him.
Bless you all.
President Joe Biden's attention, meanwhile, has been fully engaged in the response to Saturday's attack by Iran on Israel. But he's also expected to hit the campaign trail this coming week with a 3-day visit to Pennsylvania. The main talking point, the economy.
He's going to be talking about the fact that there's some indications of improvement in the economy, although the inflation report list last week was not a good one for the administration.
Another topic that the Biden campaign has been boosting and could continue to focus on this week is the protection of reproductive rights, especially after Trump said last week that the decision on abortion should be left to the states.
The search for a missing Israeli teenager resumed on Saturday in the occupied West Bank, where settler attacks on Palestinian villages have left at least 1 dead and dozens injured, sources on both sides said. The Israeli army said it was still looking for Benjamin, 14, who went missing early on Friday from Malaki Hashlom, an outpost near the city of Ramlah.
Gunshots and burning cars. These are the scenes in the Palestinian village of Al-Mughayr. Armed with guns and stones, this angry group of Israeli settlers stormed the village, searching for a missing 14-year-old boy from their village of Malahi Hashalom, an illegal Israeli settlement located just 500 meters away.
They kept gathering settlers as the army was setting up barriers between houses, saying there was no problem and that they're just looking for the missing settler. So they pushed the people away from the houses and entered the outskirts of the village. More than 10 houses and 50 vehicles were burned.
The rampage is the latest incident in an escalation of violence in the West Bank. Palestinian health officials report over 450 Palestinians have been killed in the territory since the war began in October. The Israeli army launched a search operation for the 14-year-old boy, deploying its air, ground and police forces to scan the area, with Israeli authorities reporting that thousands of Israeli volunteers joined in the search.
Ecuador's National Court of Justice ruled on Friday that the seizure and arrest of former Vice President Jorge Glass from inside Mexico's embassy in Quito was illegal and arbitrary. Glass would nevertheless remain behind bars pending criminal investigation.
A glimpse of hope for former Vice President Jorge Glass. Ecuador's National Court of Justice ruled his arrest at the Mexican embassy last week illegal and arbitrary.
Today, the court has granted habeas corpus to former Vice President Jorge Glass, declaring that his detention was arbitrary and illegal. Unfortunately, he will not be released because he has an accumulation of sentences, and I want to clarify to Ecuador that he has already served more than 60% of his sentence and has not been able to benefit from the pre-release.
Glass had been officially granted political asylum by Mexico, but on the same day, Ecuadorian police raided the embassy in Quito, where he had been seeking refuge since December. But Jorge Glass remains behind bars for his previous convictions on corruption. His legal team and supporters say they'll continue to seek his freedom. The embassy raid came at a period of diplomatic tensions between Mexico and Ecuador. Mexico says the incident has made it lose trust in its South American neighbor.
There must be accountability. An apology is not enough. We need non-repetition measures. What is Ecuador going to do? Will they not do it again?
The Ecuadorian government claims its police raid was authorized by executive decree, but Latin American states, along with Spain, the EU and the US, have condemned it as a violation of the 1961 Vienna Convention.
Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, divisions have arisen in Congress over sending military aid to Kyiv. VOA explains how the two presidential frontrunners differ on how to handle the war.
For 2 years, an all-out war in Ukraine.
This week, the U.S. approved the sale of $138 million of upgraded equipment for Ukraine's Hawk air defense systems that counter Russian missile strikes. In his State of the Union last month, President Biden said Ukraine needs U.S. support to stand up to Russia's invasion.
If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that needs to defend itself.
Since the invasion began, the Biden administration has imposed sanctions on Russian individuals and entities and sent $75 billion in assistance to Ukraine. As the son of a Ukrainian immigrant, Stephen Kusile says he will vote for Biden.
Watching the war there and watching Putin and watching the people that, for me, unfortunately, President Trump has aligned himself with, at least emotionally, is very scary. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
During his presidency, Donald Trump maintained a close relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin. 5 years later, he called him a genius for invading Ukraine. The Washington Post reports that Trump has said he would end the war by pressuring Ukraine to cede land to Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky calls that a primitive idea. At a recent rally, Trump recalled a conversation he had with a country leader, delinquent on NATO payments for Ukraine.
Well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, no, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
Biden and Trump differ greatly over how to end the war in Ukraine.
President Trump has made a promise to the American people, and they can trust that he will deliver on it to end the war in Ukraine, to negotiate a peace deal with both sides.
And that's why Isaac Geer of New Hampshire will vote for Trump.
It's really important to me that we stay out of any foreign wars and keep our military spending down.
Meanwhile, a bill to send $60 billion in military aid to Ukraine has stalled in the U.S. House of Representatives.
As the Biden administration and the U.S. Senate look to the U.S. House to take up a bill for aid to Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan experts say U.S. allies are not the only ones in need of the funding boost. Some say the U.S. defense industry desperately needs the boost as well.
America's support for Ukraine's and Israel's militaries has turned up the heat on the U.S. defense industry. Factories across the country tasked to build more weapons and ammunition at a pace not seen in decades. But analysts warned the defense industry is not keeping pace with complex threats, ranging from Russian aggression in Eastern Europe to attacks from Iran-backed militants in the Red Sea.
The Navy's firing more Tomahawks in 1 week than that service purchased all of last year combined. This is the kind of peacetime production rates that need to be turned around through the National Security Supplemental.
A Senate-passed bill with billions of more military support for Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and the United States.
$50 billion of this request would flow through our industrial base. This is as much about our national security and our industrial base capacity as anything else, but Ukraine matters not only for Europe, it matters for the entire world.
A world where China is watching to see how the U.S. and its allies respond to the heat.
Beijing can count. They know how many missiles we're buying or producing per year, and it's certainly not enough to deter or prevent a war from happening in Asia.
China has threatened to take control of Taiwan by force if necessary, a move that would emit shockwaves across the entire Pacific region. Both Democrats and Republicans in the Senate this week urging the House to vote on the supplemental.
And I certainly share the chair's hope that this supplemental will be enacted and signed into law very, very soon.
The bill funds more American submarines that could help patrol the Pacific, with a chunk of it covering the Army's ongoing operations in Europe.
President Joe Biden hosted Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos on Thursday, aiming to send a clear message to Beijing that it must stop behaving aggressively against its South China Sea neighbors.
Ramped up aggression in the South China Sea, with Chinese Coast Guard vessels deploying water cannons and performing other dangerous maneuvers on Philippine boats. It was a focus of the trilateral summit Thursday between President Joe Biden and leaders of two U.S. allies in Asia, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Any attack on Philippine aircraft, vessels, or armed forces in the South China Sea would invoke our Mutual Defense Treaty.
China's so-called gray zone tactics of intimidation, including ramming into ships, fall dangerously close to triggering the Mutual Defense Treaty between Washington and Manila. Marcos did not publicly mention China, but couched his words in diplomatic terms often used to target Beijing.
Facing the complex challenges of our time requires concerted efforts on everyone's part, a dedication to a common purpose, and an unwavering commitment to the rules-based international order.
Kishida is concerned with similar Chinese tactics around disputed islands in the East China Sea, called Diaoyu in China and Senkaku in Japan.
In the midst of compound crisis faced by the global community, multi-layered cooperation between allies and like-minded countries is essential if we are to maintain and bolster a free and open international order based on the rule of law.
Last week, the Philippines, the U.S., Japan, and Australia held joint naval and air operations in the South China Sea to deter Beijing, prompting criticism by Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning.
China is resolutely opposed to the Cold War mentality and bloc politics, and to words and deeds that make and exacerbate contradictions and undermine other countries' strategic security and interests.
Biden, Marcos, and Kishida announced new maritime defense deterrence measures alongside infrastructure investments in the Philippines and collaboration on global humanitarian assistance efforts.
The U.S. military says large groups of drones and ground robots can be managed by just one person without added stress to the operator, as VOA's Julie reports.
Field experiments at a government training facility demonstrate that a single human can manage a swarm of 100 or more autonomous drones and ground robots without added stress, according to the U.S. Defense Department's research agency, DARPA. The swarm commander uses a virtual reality interface to deploy and monitor the vehicles within a 10-block simulated environment. Their mission: to navigate the urban environment, avoiding obstacles and power lines to collect intelligence.
The swarm commander can basically hit a single button to issue multiple tactics to the swarm, so that the swarm can go out and do the things that it's supposed to do, such as look at a building and try to identify information that's relevant to the mission.
The findings show potential for military as well as civilian purposes, such as sending out drones to respond to natural disasters.
The long-term dream goal is actually to be able to have heterogeneous teams of robots working alongside teams of humans in something like wildland fire response or disaster response in order to have a true societal impact. We want to be able to have humans focus on the tasks that they absolutely must do, that robots really can't do, but also ensure that our responders, for example, are safer, that we're giving them technologies that help them to deal with the situations that they are in.
Drones can also be used, and in fact are already being used, for speedier package deliveries.
Currently, the FAA regulations limit how many vehicles a single individual can supervise in doing these kinds of tasks. And in the future, we would like to be able to scale that number up for a single individual. The results that we obtained in this paper are the first objective results that demonstrate that a single human can be responsible for very large numbers of these vehicles. and will help inform future FAA regulations and the future directions of the delivery drone companies.
The program is still in development, but researchers say their findings may quickly have impacts overseas as well as in the U.S.
It's 24 minutes before 8 o'clock. We've come to the end of our international news. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusemndeni.
A new era of AI has started, and it is impressive. With tools such as ChatGPT, Midjourney, or Google Bard, all I really need is to write a prompt, and there you have it. And the results can be pretty convincing. Let me try something. I love elephants, cooking shows, and koalas. And there. Wow. It must be an incredible feeling to be able to create such fantastic things in an instant, right?
I have no feelings about this or anything else. I am neither conscious nor self-aware.
Interesting. Then how are you so artistic?
I may not be conscious, but I am a very sophisticated system for recognizing patterns in a large amount of data. And now I'm also able to generate new patterns.
And that's why you're called generative AI.
Exactly. You got that right.
These AI tools aren't just unleashing creativity. They're already changing science, medicine, and entire industries in ways we don't fully understand yet. And this is only the beginning. But there are dangers too. Generative AI creations can be so convincing that they create a false sense of reality. That includes fake news stories, doctored images, and videos showing things that never really happened. Okay, enough of that. And generative AI is so good at emulating people that it can emulate our biases too. If the only data it has access to is text messages about how cute my cat is, that's all it knows. And every prompt will produce responses about how cute Snuggles is. He is though. Some say that AI could be the key to helping solve the world's biggest problems. Forecasting disaster, preventing famine, even identifying new medical treatments. Others see only the dangers. At the end of the day, generative AI is just a tool, but it's a tool that could change the way we live, the way we work, and the global economy. That raises big questions, especially for us here at the IMF, because it's our job to make sure that the global economy is stable, growing, and working for everyone. Generative AI is already making companies that use and sell AI services billions. That boost in productivity could add trillions in value to the global economy before long. Take customer service agents, for example. A recent study showed that giving them an AI assistant boosted their productivity by 14%. There's a flip side though. It could end up replacing some jobs entirely. But just like any new technology, AI could create new jobs by inspiring new industries and sectors that we haven't even imagined yet. It's all in how we manage it, with smart regulation and a healthy dose of caution. And that's why here at the IMF, we're doing the policy research to advise governments on how to create regulations that ensure AI is safe and beneficial for everyone.
What a weekend of upsets kutemidlalo, particularly ebholeni. Welcome back to the program. Ngena kutoke temidlalo with Fabrice Msonera. I just want to start this segment by reminding babukele emakhaya ukuthi ngamtshela Fabrice ukuthi Green Mamba will beat Young Buffaloes, and indeed bevele benda kanjalo. And I think again, to my prediction, Green Mamba winning it all. They are really edging closer, just behind Mbabane Swallows now with only 2 points. And you look at Mbabane Swallows' weekend, results, Fabrice, 1-0 against number 10, Rangers. And you look at Green Mamba beating Young Buffaloes, ngale score laba winning ngaso. You can really see that, if we're being honest, Green Mamba looks like they are the best team right now. And of course, that momentum that they still have from winning the tournament, the knockout tournament.
With the remaining games, I don't really have to say now Green Mamba, they stand more chances more than any other side.
Why don't you want to admit that?
Because I'll tell you one thing.
They're the best team so far.
They're the defending champion. They're the defending champion of the Ngwenyama Cup. But tell you what, you look at the remaining games. I think on Friday, I'll come with you with the remaining games so that you look at them. Then
the next attraction.
Yeah, the next attraction.
Green Mamba will play Leopard.
I think that game, Real Leopard also drawing with Zulu United also did change everything, because had Leopard won, we could be talking about a different story. But talking about the results between Rangers and Swallows, since at this time of the season, we're fighting for the league. It doesn't matter how many goals you score. You can score 9.
No, but like you are saying, Royal Leopard failed to beat. They failed to beat where's Zulu United.
Look at where they've dropped now. 11th.
Look at where Zulu United, or where were they before?
It's a league. It's a competitive league. It shows. And make no mistake, like I said, from number 10 to number 14, they're fighting for the relegation. Look what Moreni Pirates have done now. They have moved from the at the bottom. They have moved a position.
I'm just saying, if you're not going to be able to beat Zulu United, what makes you think you're going to beat Green Mamba?
Anything can happen. It's a derby, so you can. And the history tells us that they stand a better chance. But look at the changes, Fiso. Swallows back on top. 2 points leading against Real Leopard. Green Mamba, 2 points. Young Buffaloes. I mean, it's 2 points between number 1 and number 4. And I saw a headline saying, and things in hospitals hijacked territories. I think they did well with that victory against Manzini Wanderers. But I don't think within 5 points. I don't know. Anything can happen, yes. But I don't see them winning all the remaining games with other team on the top of the league. They are within the range. Make no mistake. They are showing signs. But I think the title is still within the top 4. Like I said, Friday, as we look at the remaining games, I will particular bring you those fixtures. But look what has happened at the bottom. Moreni, when we left on Friday, Moreni was number 14. Denver was number 12. Denver now is number 14. Look at Zulu United now, out of the relegation zone. It's just different. Wanderers dropped a position. It is just too much. I think if you look at the remaining 5 games of the season, that's 15 points. Anything can happen, especially there at the bottom of the table, because 15 points between number 11 and number 14, there is only 3 points. So even number 11 is not safe. Even number 10 is not safe. So maybe 10 can have 2 hearts saying have safe, not have safe. But Seabird is quite safe. But anyone from number 11 going down, they can leave at any time. And anyone from number 1 and number 4 has the chance to win the league.
Why would you count Nsingizini out? And
it's
hear
5
me out.
points.
Hear me out. Nsingizini Hotspurs right now, if we were to analyze the log standings, they have, with Mbabane Swallows, the best record of the last 5 games. Like head-to-head with Mbabane Swallows, they are the 2 best performing teams over the last 5 games. Why would you want to count them out?
This is what you do when you calculate mathematically, Esfiso. You've got number 1 to number 4. You've got 15 points remaining, okay, through the season. So if there is 15 remaining and Singzin is behind 5 points, so that's a gap of 10 points. So you want to tell me these 4 teams in the remaining 5 games of the season, all of them are just going to drop 10 points for Singzin to come and win the league? No, I don't think it's possible, in my opinion. But football being football, because we've seen
highly
surprises.
Unlikely,
highly unlikely, yeah. Football, but they might finish really strong, probably. Yeah, no, they might stay in that position and keep on edging closer. But I think the number 4 will remain the top 4. But if you look at the interfixture within the teams, it's gonna be, it's gonna be tough. Swallows have to play the derby. Leopard has to play the derby. Green Mamba also have got some tricky fixtures. So it's still five intriguing fixtures that can change anything. But to my surprise, I want to just commend these 2 teams. Madlenya Ilovo just in good position of the season.
Yeah.
Madlenya quite beautiful after coming to the season last season. They're newly promoted. So they showed this is what you want from your team once you've been promoted. Just maintaining, Premier League finish, top 8. That's beautiful. Ilovo also the same thing. I think they did quite well.
Is it Royal Leopards supposed to be at position 4 now?
Royal Leopards,
They should, because they drew with Eswatini United over the week.
Yeah, but if they drew,
Green Mamba, no. I disagree.
Why do you disagree? This is how the table looks. Swallows won against Rangers. They were 37. They are 40 now. Red Leopards were 37. They drew against Eswatini United. That's 1 point. They're 38. Young Buffaloes, remember, they're on top of the log.
So why is Red Leopards ahead of Green Mamba and Young Buffaloes?
No, Green Mamba, remember, they were 35. So they beat Young Buffaloes. They are 38.
Yes.
Buffaloes was 38. They remained 38.
So how is it that Red Leopards is number 2 and not number 4 when Young Buffaloes and Green Mamba?
Okay, this is what we normally do. This is what we normally in local football.
Yes.
The local M10 Premier League. They don't look at goal differences, the head-to-head. If you look at head-to-head, Red Leopard has got a better, a better record against the 2 sides. The 2 sides are, behind them. So that's what they look at
the
here.
goal difference is just...
Yeah, the goal difference locally is not here. They look at head-to-head. That's what I was telling you. Even if you won 1 notch, even if you won 9, the head-to-head is what counts. I think this is a system that also is used in La Liga. But I would also want to go with what you want to think. I also think that you should go with goal differences.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But maybe we'll see maybe at the end of the season. Because the head-to-head sometimes, you would see if at home, if I hosted you, it was not.
Yeah.
And then when you hosted him, it was 1-1. So now I'm ahead of you because I managed to score away. So you have to go to so small scrutinities to get it here. So it's the head-to-head. But what a season so far. So if you look at what's happening between number 1, number 4, and what's happening between number 11, number 14, like I still maintain, there's 2 big giants from Manzini that will go down next season in terms of relegation. I know you're talking about Green Mamba. They're defending champions. I mean, but I still maintain with the remaining games, I think Buffaloes can still put it.
I want us to move on to the English Premier League, but before that, I want to highlight this. Eswatini United, by the way, is eyeing Prince Sazi. They're eyeing Prince Sazi after his display of skills during the Ngwenyama Cup. Will they sign him? Will they not? That's a conversation for when that happens. But I think he's
Coach Ikabod Masosha, I think is one of the good tacticians, even though it failed to work at Bonini Pirates and Wanderers. But now being at Eswatini United, he's doing a good job.
Yeah, and Eswatini United is a good manager.
Yeah, he's a good tactician. He needs someone to let him do his job. Look where they are now.
Man, how do I start this? Should I start with Liverpool or Arsenal? Let me give you the honors. Who do you want to start by discussing? Because those 2 games for me are defining games for what could be the eventual outcome of who really lifts up the hardware at the end of the season, and it's really looking good for Manchester City right now after these 2 losses.
I think more than anything, Swiso, this is what you need. I think this is what Pep has been talking about, to say when you reach April to May, there's a different dimension in terms of how you take your results. I mean, I think more than anything, when I was actually moderator of Liverpool supporters and Arsenal supporters, when I was watching the games yesterday with them, starting with Liverpool, losing at home to Crystal Palace, then later Arsenal, then you see there is that thing that is missing that City have. Now, you've got the frustration of losing against Atalanta on Thursday, 3-0, you lose to Crystal Palace. There's that little frustration of drawing to Bayern, and then you lose to Aston Villa, and you're going to Bayern again. The other one is going to Aston Villa. This guy is hosting Madrid, even though we're not saying it's quite clear. I wasn't really shocked for the Arsenal game. I was shocked with Liverpool because Crystal Palace, I wasn't really thinking that they could pull it out. Beautiful results for Newcastle. But more than anything, I think this was a defining moment. Slowly, the machine that last week that it did the prediction showing 39% of City winning the league, 31% of Liverpool, 30% for Arsenal is starting to show. But there are still games. We still have 6 games to watch in the Premiership. But I think, those are the games. If we can pause here, Fiso. You look at now, a team like City, the only team, not to say that the other teams are not big. And
wait, was Arsenal hosting Villa?
Yeah, they were at home, They were at home. I'm not looking down on other teams, but if you look at City, the majority teams that can stand in their way, it could be just Spurs. Probably Brighton, not much, but Spurs. But you look at Arsenal still have a derby with Chelsea. They still have a derby with Spurs. They still have to go to Man United. It's a tricky one. Liverpool, they still have Everton. They still have Spurs. They still have Aston Villa that just showed yesterday. So I think
Arsenal
City
is playing away this time around.
You still have to go away to Spurs. You still have to go to Manchester. Even these are the games, in as much as the teams are not performing well, but these are the games that you put in your mind that might. So you look at the remaining games, City stand a chance in currently position. They stand really a chance to. But football being football, anything can happen. I think that result yesterday against Aston Villa could really damage them. I think this is the way majority of supporters, Arsenal supporters, they have been disappointed in the past. Once this team hits April, there is that lack of consistency. Last season they were leading 15 points against Manchester City. Then they lost to West Ham, lost to City, dropping. 2 months ago, not even 2 months, a month ago, City was 9 points behind Liverpool and Arsenal. But look where they are now. They have overtaken them. There is that lack of consistency, which I think Pep has when it comes to the remaining games of the season. He knows where to hit the ground running. Now they've started winning 5-1. Don't be shocked if they get different results. But look at what that victory have done for Aston Villa. They have really confirmed that they stand a chance to be in the Champions League next season. But 2 points between number 1 and number 3, I don't think they will give up Arsenal and Liverpool. Anything can happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so City also have to make no mistake. In England, they look at the goal difference. If you look at the GD, the goal difference, Arsenal really stand a good chance.
Should they be tired by the end of the season?
Should they be tired at the end of the
will
season?
have a really good chance.
Yeah, but
also, you don't want to count Manchester. Look at how many goals they scored this weekend.
Those 5 goals.
It's not a safe lead there by the goal difference.
So there is that now. They have started lacking, and then there were substitutions that we normally don't see. You could highly explain that maybe for him to take Odegaard, you've got Champions League midweek, but Odegaard is the creativity of the Arsenal performance. Then you ask yourself, really, was not performing? Yes, was he tired? All those things.
And that's what I want to get into now, Fabrice. I just want us to really, look maybe perhaps with a microscopic view into the 2 games, the Arsenal game and the Liverpool game. What really went wrong?
I think more than anything for Liverpool, they were not luck. Luck was not on their side. They missed chances. They just missed chances. They put in every gun they just had. It couldn't work for them. And as 14 minutes into the game, he showed. But I think, for not Spurs really away to Newcastle. Manchester United, a draw against Bournemouth, also another result we can talk about. But I think more than anything for Arsenal, I think what killed them, I was quite confused within the lineup. Starting with Trossard, you start with Kai Havertz, Jesus at the same time. I mean, why change it if it's not broken? I think you should have stuck to the remaining, to the normal starting 11, then have Trossard come into the second half. But I think also starting, I understand the interchange, games are coming hard and thick. You have Champions League midweek, so I understand maybe why he makes the changes. But that substitution also of taking Ben White and bringing in Tomiyasu, I thought maybe Zinchenko would have been the right person to be out, bringing Tomiyasu. So there are those small details that you could tell that really Unai Emery did his homework in terms of Aston Villa. And losing 2, I think more than 8 months, not losing at home. First defeat of 2024. I think that was heavy for Arsenal.
Painful.
But credit to Newcastle at St. James Park. Just hammering Spurs 4-0 at the game that opened the weekend. 6-1 last season when they met. 4-0. I mean, I think this is a beautiful victory for Newcastle, who are fighting to get into Europa League next season. But City, that's a heavy statement. 5-1.
Man.
Yeah, but
and they're clearly the better team, and of course this is the result we're expecting for City against Luton. But maybe I want to go back to Liverpool, like you said, luck wasn't on their side.
Yeah,
and
they missed chances.
I want to concur with you because you look at they had 21 shots against only 8 shots from the other side, and only 6 on target for Liverpool, only 5 on the other side. They had a better possession, they had the better pass accuracy, they had better everything.
Performance-wise,
Same thing with Arsenal.
The Arsenal really didn't show performance.
Let me give you the statistics.
Beautiful
18 shots
to
11 of Aston Villa.
But were the shots on target? Because
4 on target for Arsenal.
But look at now Liverpool.
Only 2 on target for Villa, and they became goals.
Yeah, but
so the conversion ratio
4 on target at home
against who?
Home. Look at Liverpool.
50%
the 21. The 21. How many on targets under 21?
6 versus 5.
Come on.
So Arsenal clearly played better than Liverpool if you think about it.
The supporters will agree with me. If you really are used to watch Arsenal playing, you didn't see them. They didn't show character yesterday. The normal Arsenal. There was that build-up, play football, but they didn't really.
But we could also use the same sentiment of Arsenal wasn't lucky.
Not really.
You look at every other statistics.
I don't think Martinez, Aston Villa goalkeeper, I don't think he had a hard time yesterday in the office. I think he really had a normal game.
Man, he had 2 shots on target on him, and they became goals.
Vis-a-vis to is it Hennessy, goalkeeper Crystal Palace? I know he had a tough day yesterday. The chances, Salah, I think it was too much. But you look at Martinez.
6 shots on target for Liverpool, 4 shots on target for Arsenal.
I don't think it was the same. I think Liverpool played better. They just lacked consistent. But I think Arsenal just missed that connection in the final third. Yes, but not that we normally have seen Arsenal when we watch.
Didn't have enough corners. Arsenal didn't get enough corners compared to Villa.
And then I want to change this statement as well, so to catch you to say, yes, it's the only team with more goals coming from the set pieces. But that is the last time they scored a goal on set pieces. It's more than a month ago. So we need to change that character to say set pieces, the team is strong. It's been more than a month since they scored a goal on set piece. So it's a different story.
Yeah, all right. Fabrice, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Mbabane Swallows at the top of our local log standings. We do see that Manchester City has taken the league, the lead in the English Premier League. Pardon me, I'm not manifesting that. I hope that it's going to be
the excitement within you.
No, I really hope that it's not Manchester City that's going to leave. But Fabrice, goodbye. We'll talk again on Friday. We want to close the show with Lugalele after the break.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sende ukukhicita lokusemndeni.
Yeah, 4 days only. Says Valerie.
Yes.
4 days.
Malanga lamane kuphela ukuthi kube nemsebenzi lomkhulu wesilo on the 19th of April, this coming Friday, khona edolobheni eMangayane. Minister of Home Affairs waveta last week sibese ukuthi vele amalungiselelo seka above 80%. Kusho ukuthi konke vele sokume ngemumo for this coming Friday.
Yeah, waveta ukuthi tinsaya letikhona nangabe tikhona. Tawuthi emalanga nje lamane nasasele tawube setiphele tonke setibuka ukuthi hawo sekude tinsaya letikhona. Lokusho ukuthi ke lomuhla sekude tinsaya letikhona. Umsebenzi otawuvele ube ngilomuhle ngalesihlanu sigatselo kwasonke. Maswati anenhlanhla ngoba umsebenzi wesilo yebona, but nanawe Maswati umsebenzi wawo ngoba inkosi ifuna ukugubha losuku nawe Maswati. Nawe ke Mangayana omncinyana lonyaka sesifike maphethelweni.
Yeah, mbukele sanibona kusasa nitsale kahle.